So I've had a few people request a follow-up video to the last one that I done. Now, if you want to know how the injury happened, the kind of things that led up to it, and then just a kind of brief timeline of like the 16 months, then go back, watch the previous video. What I'm going to do in this video is I'm actually going to take you through my progressions. So the exercises that I done from initially when the surgery happened till I get back on my feet, and then to where I am just now. And I'm literally going to outline exactly what it was I done. I want to preface this by saying every journey is unique. Listen to the professionals. This is my journey. This is what I done. It's not going to be the same for everyone else. But I'm hopeful that this can inspire and just help someone if you're going through a similar journey. And yeah, we'll get to it. So like I'd mentioned in the last video, the first kind of 5-6 weeks post-op is really where I found it the most challenging. Yeah, due to the high risk of infection, I wasn't allowed out and about just yet. So a lot of time was spent in the flat, and as you can see, we're just working on plantar flexion here. This was really it. I wasn't really allowed to do much more here. That was essentially it. Spending a lot of time just getting into plantar flexion. Very limited on dorsiflexion. That was something that I was told early on, not to try and go past neutral, just try and stay here and maybe get down. So this was the first few weeks. At that time, but I was able to get up onto my feet and I was moving about in my boot. Very conscious that I was maybe only putting maybe 50% of my body weight through that side. But yeah, there was some early weight bearing took place at that time also. When I was able to then start getting out, I actually lived 4 up in a block of flats. So trying to navigate them, both going down and up, geez, that was a laugh at the time. Yeah, not easy. And then it was round about the 4-week mark where I was finally able to start walking, albeit very gingerly, in a trainer. About the 5-6 week mark is where things really started to progress for the better. This is where I found myself finally achieving a wee bit of momentum. Now, somebody had told me that had obviously went through this journey before, that once you get to kind of 5-6 weeks, then every couple of weeks after that, you'll be absolutely astonished with the progress that you can make. And for me, that was the case also. So at this point, I was really able to get back into the gym, and not just physically, but see mentally, that was a massive change for me. Also as well, you'll notice here that I'm now implementing resistance bands when I'm using my dorsiflexion, inversion, eversion. Also as well, we were then starting to kind of ramp up the walking and the difficulty level of things that we were doing. You can see me here tiptoe walking, but then also doing the same backwards. Took a lot of practice, but yeah, again, you've just got to get in and you've just got to be doing the reps. It's challenging at first and you think, how did I end up in this position? But yeah, it needs to be done. Also around about this time there was a lot of what they call proprioception, so it's essentially just balance exercises, and you could see me doing that on the left side, so that's my repaired side. Again, just trying to build up again. For me, being able to get back into a gym environment was massive, you know what I mean? It was a really big turning point. I'd be doing a lot of stuff in my flat, but see, having that kind of social interaction as well, being in that environment, it really did take my training from here to then here, and then obviously you get to chat to people and they give you words of encouragement. So yeah, getting back into the gym was huge, and that's really where I saw things then start to ramp up. And this was around about the kind of 8-9 week mark. So in the following weeks from that, I was then able to start walking on a treadmill. As you can see me here, I'm really focusing on placing my heel down first and then rolling my foot up onto my toes. That was one thing that the physio had really tried to get me to focus on. It's wild that you're actually having to learn to walk again. Also within that, I was then able to introduce some sort of squats. So yeah, I'm using a resistance band here. I've actually got CCTV of that band snapping also. Me doing a backwards roll. That was a pretty scary moment, especially when you've just had your Achilles repaired. Just make sure that your bands get the correct tension. From here, I was then able to start introducing calf raises. As you can see here, I'm just trying my best to get right up as high as I can onto my toes. And you can actually see as well, this was maybe about 3 months in, wee bit of definition starting to come back into my calves. So the training for the next 4, 5, 6 weeks didn't really deviate too much. The programme kind of stayed the same. A lot of focus was placed on just my walking technique, really trying to kind of roll that foot. It's mad that you actually have to learn how to walk again, but yeah, it's such a kind of horrific injury that's kind of takes you right back to the start, right back to basics. A lot of different techniques were used as well. Kind of sideward steps were used, walking forwards and walking backwards, using heel toe as well. At that time as well, because I was back in the gym and I'd built more confidence, I was able to do a lot of kind of single leg work. So single leg extensions, single leg hamstring curls, single leg presses, again working both sides to make sure that we're not getting any imbalances. So strength actually came back quite quick at that point. And you'll also see that I was able to introduce calf raises, and by able to do that, you'll notice I've actually got some definition come back into my calves quite quick, so there was a wee bit of muscle growth in there. And I need to be honest, I've not got the best calves at the best of times, so when the injury happened, it literally went to nothing. So to then see that wee bit of definition appear, again, that just builds motivation. So this is me around about the 5-month mark. As you can see, I'm practicing proprioception now on the Bosu ball. At the time, standing on that was a right laugh. You know what I mean? That took a bit of confidence. So yeah, I was able to stand on the Bosu ball. As you can see, I'm just shifting weight from side to side. And then for the first time post-injury, I was able to perform a bodyweight squat using flat soles. So it wasn't long after this that I was then reintroduced to running again. And I touched upon it in the last video. I had to go private to get the operation done. And as part of the private package, they gave me access to their physios also. And their physio department actually had an anti-gravity treadmill. So yeah, over the next 4 weeks, I get full use of the anti-gravity treadmill. I'm pretty sure we started at 75% of my body weight. And if I was able to tick that off with no pain, no discomfort, my technique was good, I was then able to progress that. So like I say, I went from 75% over the next 4 weeks to then able to run with my own body weight. And that was the first time I'd ran with my own body weight, I'd say for 6.5 months. So in case you're unaware of what an anti-gravity treadmill looks like, this is it here. So yeah, essentially you get slid into a big pair of granny pants, and this was my first time actually running post-op. And I was running here about 75%, like I say, over the next kind of 3-4 weeks. That was then ramped up to 100% of my body weight. So I touched upon this in the previous video. I was then introduced to plyometrics, and I told the story about how the physio brought out a tiniest wee box that you'd ever seen in your life, laid it in front of me and wanted me to jump upon it, and my feet just wouldn't leave the floor. I had obviously too much kind of psychological issues, too much PTSD from the injury. But over the course of the next kind of 3-4 weeks, I was then able to ramp up the plyometric work. So I'm going to show you what I was doing over the next kind of 3-4 weeks. And I'm actually still working upon that just now. That's not stopped. So my box jumps, my jumping on the spot, sideward hops, all of that, the lateral movement, all of that is still introduced to this time. So yeah, I'll show you some of the kind of stuff that I'm working on just now with that. So as you can see here, I've started with the smallest box imaginable. So there I'm jumping onto it single leg. And as time progressed and as that improved, I was then able to just implement a lot of different kind of plyometric techniques. As you can see, I'm doing single leg hops, I'm doing pogo jumps, I'm doing lateral jumps, I'm able to jump onto a bigger box, I'm doing broad jumps now. So yeah, there was a lot of stuff that I was able to implement. And like I say, even though I'm 16 months into this recovery journey and I've been signed off by physio, they've been quick to remind me that this needs to continue. I can't just stop doing all of this work now. I would say it was probably a year into that video. There was obviously a couple of extra things that I was maybe doing, like knees over toes, maybe more kind of mobility work that I was doing that I didn't quite document as much as the other stuff, because let's be honest, it's not as exciting as being able to jump up onto a box or being able to barbell back squat again. They're all the big compound movements that are exciting and everybody wants to see. So I didn't really document too much around about the kind of mobility side of things, but I was always working on that in the background. And like I say, I just hope that anybody that watches this video that's feeling at the very, very beginning that there's just no light at the end of the tunnel, and I'll be honest, I was thinking to myself, like, how am I going to get through this? Am I ever going to be able to run again? Am I ever be able just to get out and just walk and live a normal life and walk up and down stairs? The wee things that you take for granted, it's just to kind of prove to you guys that it's possible that you'll get back there. I think seeing someone that's kind of walked the path before you really will inspire. I know it inspired me watching other people's journeys. So yeah, I'm going to actually attach just a wee further timeline again at the end of this video. And as I say, if there's anybody wants to reach out, just leave a comment, like the video, subscribe, and I'm actually going to make potentially a wee follow-up video to this about how I went from learning to walk again to running a sub 20-minute 5k. So keep your eyes peeled. I'll probably do another video on that in the coming days or the next week or so. But yeah, if you've got this far, again, thanks for watching. Don't hesitate to reach out, and yeah, stay positive, keep doing the work. You'll absolutely get to the end of this journey. And yeah, chat to you soon.